Weapons are a cornerstone of the Star Wars universe. From the iconic lightsaber to the eternally reliable blaster pistol, the galaxy had more than its fair share of handheld purveyors of death and destruction. But how heavily were these weapons regulated? Absolutely none of you would ever ask. The answer varies depending on the era, but both the Galactic Republic and the Galactic Empire did heavily scrutinize weapons sales and placed restrictions on what weapons civilians could purchase. In this video, we're going to be looking at a few of the Star Wars galaxy's most fearsome banned weapons.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Weapon ownership varied wildly from planet to planet, as you might expect. On frontier worlds like Dantooine, virtually every settler had at least a blaster rifle in their household for safety reasons. Blaster weaponry was similarly common on densely populated urban worlds like Coruscant and Denon for the same reason. The banking planet Argao actually made it illegal for citizens to be unarmed at any time, while simultaneously forbidding all outsiders from carrying weapons. Other planets, naturally, were less blaster friendly. Idyllic planets like Alderaan generally placed heavy restrictions on the weapons their citizens could own, as well as what weapons could be brought to the planet by outsiders. During the reign of the Republic, galactic-scale weapons regulations were fairly loose. Most kinds of blaster were legal for civilians to purchase and own, and the only weapons that were banned under the Republic were incredibly destructive and often unorthodox in design. The Empire was a lot harsher. They banned civilian ownership of all but a few weak models of blaster pistol, blaster rifle, and vibroblade, meaning that few Imperial citizens within the core territories of the Empire had access to anything capable of piercing stormtrooper armor. Of course, these laws held less and less weight the further from the core worlds one went, and Imperial garrisons on the Outer Rim generally didn't care about illegal weapons. But there were some classes of weapon that were just too dangerous for the Republic or the Empire to ignore, even on the Rim. The largest and most well-known class of illegal weapons was Disruptors. Disruptors were essentially blasters on steroids. Like blasters, they worked by firing bolts of energized blaster gas, but the similarities ended there. Disruptors packed far more blaster gas into their bolts than even the most powerful blaster rifles, and the resultant beam was short range, high power, and highly unstable. Disruptor beams created non-harmonic energy pulses that disrupted the molecular bonds of a target, causing their atoms to split apart in a brief but intensely painful process. In short, disruptors were souped-up blasters that disintegrated their targets. Disruptors were virtually unstoppable. They were capable of piercing most forms of energy shield, and they were so powerful they could even do serious damage to starship hulls. As a result, they were highly illegal. Just having a disruptor, whether it was a disruptor pistol, a disruptor rifle, or even component pieces for a disruptor, was grounds for execution on many worlds. Even the Empire shied away from these weapons. While the Imperial military was usually allowed to use most kinds of illegal weapons, the use of disruptors was still restricted to only a select few members of Imperial intelligence. Of course, that didn't stop criminal factions from acquiring and using disruptors. Many bounty hunters carried disruptor pistols, with the most notable disruptor user being Boba Fett. One of the Star Wars galaxy's most devastating personal weapons was the Mandalorian Ripper, a slug thrower that, legally, was classified as a disruptor by the Republic for its sheer destructive potential. The Mandalorian Ripper used pieces of shrapnel as flechettes, which it encased in an energy coating and fired at anyone unlucky enough to be downrange of this fearsome pistol. When fired, the Mandalorian Ripper launched its energy-coated shrapnel flechettes deep into the bodies of its targets, literally ripping through flesh and bone alike. These weapons combined the deadliest aspects of disruptors and more common slug thrower weapons. The solid nature of the weapon's flechettes meant that they were able to pierce most energy shields, while their energy coatings made the flechettes more destructive to organic tissue. The Mandalorian Ripper was designed by the Mandalorian Crusaders during the Great Sith War, and it was commonly used as a sidearm by Mandalorian officers during the Mandalorian Wars that followed. After the end of the Mandalorian Wars, these weapons were banned in the Republic for obvious reasons, but again, that didn't stop criminals from using them. The bounty hunter Jigga Wraith was notorious for his use of a Mandalorian Ripper. 37 Mandalorian veterans were mistaken for him and unfairly executed for possession of similar weapons before sightings of Wraith subsided. The Mandalorians weren't the only ones who made overpowered weapons, of course. The Verpine were also notorious for their combat equipment, which, it was rumored, they tested on live subjects. The Verpine Droid Disruptor was one of their more well-known products, a high-powered ion rifle that far surpassed its contemporaries. Most ion rifles were designed primarily to short-circuit droids, energy shields, or other electronic devices, but the Verpine took this concept and turned it up to 11. Their droid disruptors absolutely annihilated electronic targets. The high-powered ion bolts they fired overloaded droid systems so badly it often permanently fried their control circuits, essentially killing the droids. This, of course, was exactly what the Verpine had designed the droid disruptor to do, but this still made the weapon rather problematic. Though military forces were allowed to use Verpine droid disruptors, they were banned for civilian use in the Republic, as they were considered overkill for anything a civilian would need an iron rifle for. Holdout blasters, small, low-powered weapons designed for self-defense, generally ranked among the least restricted weapons in the Republic, but there were notable exceptions to this rule. After all, civilians weren't the only ones who could make use of easily concealable blasters. Holdout pistols were a favorite of spies as well. The most infamous spies in the galaxy, the Bothans, had several of their unique takes on the holdout blaster concept, the most effective of which was the Bothan Needler. Possession of one of these weapons outside of Bothan space was almost always grounds for arrest. Bothan Needlers were essentially the perfect spy weapon. They were designed to incapacitate, not kill, and they were able to do this quite easily for such a small weapon. Bolts fired by the Bothan Needler had a slight stunning effect, which, as the Bothans would have put it, made the weapon perfect for creating opportunities. The Bothan Needler's capabilities were enough to make it an illegal weapon on their own, but the weapon's association with Bothan spies probably played a larger role in making it one of the most illegal weapons in the Republic. Lightsabers, the iconic weapons of the Jedi and the Sith, were some of the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, but there were a few metals capable of withstanding lightsaber blades, one of the rarest of which being cortosis. What's more, unlike more common lightsaber resistant materials like Beskar or Frick, cortosis didn't just reflect lightsabers, it short-circuited them. In its purest form, cortosis could cause feedback loops within lightsaber energy cells upon making contact with the blade, causing the saber to short out and rendering the weapons useless for a few minutes. Cortosis was used in the traditional bladed weapons of a number of species, but during the last centuries of the Republic, cortosis weapons were highly illegal anyway. A few of the more primitive cortosis using species were exempted from this ordinance, but these exceptions were few and far between. Cortosis itself was heavily regulated, with all the cortosis mines in the galaxy subject to oversight from the Jedi Order. Cortosis weapons were banned almost entirely for the sake of the Jedi, who felt that their ability to keep peace in the Republic would be hampered if thugs got their hands on such devastating weapons. Lastly, let's touch on larger weapons. During the years of the Republic, a number of devastating military-grade weapons were banned by treaty, the most notable of these being nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons were generally considered primitive by the Republic, since turbo lasers were capable of dealing comparable damage without the messy side effects. When nuclear weapons were used, it was usually because of deliberate cruelty, as the only reason to use nukes instead of turbo lasers was when you wanted a radioactive fallout. As a result, nuclear weapons were eschewed by the Republic and most civilizations in the galaxy, but there were a few cases in which they did see use. During the Mandalorian Wars, the Mandalorians were known to punish Republic worlds they believed were fighting with cowardly tactics by subjecting them to global thermonuclear bombardment, a tactic most memorably employed at Sirocco. The Empire also toyed with bringing back the nuke. They were known to have possessed a few nuclear warheads for military purposes, but they aren't known to have used them. So those are the Star Wars weapons that were considered too dangerous for civilian use. But what do you think? What's your favorite Star Wars weapon? let us know in the comment section below. And just before you click off to those other recommended videos, guys, make sure you check out our new channel called The Braved, where we dive deep into a whole bunch of different eras and find some of the most badass men and women from these eras, and we tell it in a very high quality format, which I'm sure you guys will enjoy. So that's the first link in the description, make sure you check it out. Now, if you're more of a beats type person, then check out our Relax Jack music channel, where we use a lot of the music we post there in the background of the videos we post here on Geetsly's. So if that's your cup of tea, that's in the description below. And if you want to join us on a behind the scenes Discord and get access to some exclusive content, then consider donating to our Patreon. And lastly, if you want to join our wider community, check us out on our main Geetsly's Discord and our Geetsly's Gaming Network, which I'm excited to say is nearly done development, but make sure you join there for any updates. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.